How do we start a podcast? Well,
With some brilliant initiating sentence.
yes.
I haven't heard a brilliant one yet from me
It
anyway.
was excellent last podcast.
You're very good. You used the whole acronym thing.
We're going to dive into a topic today that makes me very uncomfortable, though.
We are?
Yeah. I'm just going to be talking about acting, and you find great pleasure performing, acting out, portraying different characters in front of a group of people.
I'm shocked.
I go to a training and they say it's time for the role play, and I want the floor to open up and just drop me down right then and there.
Well, I guess that's somewhat of an introduction to our topic and our guests today. But before we came on and started to record this, why didn't you start with like complimenting me on how wonderful I've been through this latest illness?
So we've been telling Bob that Phil came back from a training trip in the Middle East and has been sick for 2 weeks with like a head cold, chest cold, and our entire 30 plus years of a relationship, if he gets the sniffles, the world is ending. But if you amputated his arm, he'd be like, oh yeah, no big deal. But this time you've turned a corner.
You know what I've been doing?
Drugs?
No,
Oh.
acting.
I salute.
See what I did there? That was almost brilliant. Almost.
Yeah, you did there. But maybe we should talk to Bob.
Yeah, so Bob, introduce yourself.
Well, I'm having fun listening.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bob LeBou, but most people know me in recovery as Bob L. I still respect my anonymity. I'm the author and director of Division's theater play on addiction and recovery. That's my, recovery thing I do. Came into the 12-step fellowship, and I would go into the meetings and I would sit way in the back. And one day I was sitting in the back of the meeting, and one of the old timers says to me, hey, kid, how much time you got? I said, well, I have about a little over 90 days. He says, you're going to run the speakers meeting. What? I can't do that. I can't. I don't know. Oh, you're going to get a key. You're going to open it. No, I can't do it. He said, it'd be good for you. Well, that act from that man in that fellowship was one of the greatest acts that the fellowship ever did for me. The opportunity to do service. And so new friends got involved. It was so wonderful. And after a couple of months, 9 or 10 months, maybe close to a year, I see an ad for looking for actors in the Passion Play that was held every year at the theater down in Union City. I always wanted to be on stage, so I went. And I walked into this big theater, and it was like 1,000 seats, and fans up there looked like toothpicks, and I was on this big stage. The director, she was a female, was out in the middle of there, and in the audience, I couldn't even see her, and she kept screaming, louder, louder. And I'm like, anyway, 2 weeks later, I get a call, and she says, you're cast as young James the Apostle. I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic. So I called up my sponsor, and I said, I did it. I got it. I did it. He said, what'd you do? I said, I'm cast as James the Apostle. I said, this is great. He says, tell her you can't do it. Mean I can't do it. I want this. Tell her you can't do it. I said, I need this. He says, first of all, you got a wife that just got out of rehab for hard drug stuff. You got a kid, your teenage son is all screwed up from both of you using, and you got a baby daughter. Your plate is full. I said, no, but I need, and he started screaming over the phone, your plate is full. And so I went back for the first rehearsal, dragging my tail. And as everybody walked into the theater, I said, can I talk to you? The director, I said, I can't be in the show. And I thought that was it. I could go. She give it to me. Why did you waste my time? Why'd you did it? But anyway, I waited 1 year. Things seemed a little bit more normal. The wife was in recovery too. And she joined the other fellowship, thank God. But anyway, and I joined a little community group here in Bergen County. And I had my first role wearing a ski mask, black turtleneck, black pants, and stabbing somebody in a murder mystery and carrying off about 40 seconds. I invited about 40 of my friends there. And I said, what do you think? Oh, you were great, Bob.
Mhm.
Say anything. So they had workshops at the little theater, and people were bringing in things that they had, new stuff, and they were presenting them. I was inspired. And I was able to finish the small script. Wasn't that big, but I brought it back for the workshop to the community theater, and they said, no way can you do this. It's too real. It's not our cup of tea.
What year is this, Bob?
1991.
Do you think when you were cast as James the Apostle and told no, do you think that was the right answer today for you?
Yes, first things first. Absolutely.
Okay.
I couldn't have done it. My wife had just got out of rehab. No, there was no way.
Okay.
No way. My sponsor knew better.
All right.
So I wanted it even more when
Yeah.
the opportunity came.
Mm-hmm. So you're back and they said to you, this is too real. Well, you can't do this.
I was showing bottoms from addiction,
Yeah.
alcohol and drug addiction. And I was, in a variety of scenes, and it was just too much for them. And maybe so. Who would come to the theater at that time? But I don't know.
Well, I
But
don't know.
anyway, I don't know. But anyway, and so I was frustrated. How could this be? I considered it a gift. I didn't consider myself a writer. I considered it a gift. And so I decided to do it on my own. I went into the recovery rooms and I said, excuse me, I said, you'll be a good pimp.
No.
You'll be a good hooker.
Mm,
You'll be a good tramp. You'll be a good this, good that. And I had 20 characters and 5 churches let me space. And I would rehearse a few here. I would rehearse a few there. And
I wonder what role Phil would have gotten.
Wow.
Any
well,
inclination
Phil, I
there?
tell you, if you ever want to be in the show, you got it. I would get a great part. You're welcome to come in anytime.
Thank you.
And but anyway, and so I had an opportunity to present it for a 12-step H&I Hospital and Institution Convention. That's how it all started. The day before, I decided to take it to Integrity House, a long-term treatment center for men and women in Secaucus, New Jersey. I rented a primitive lighting system, a primitive audio system, and we had a music with it as well. And we performed there for the women and the men were weeping. Some men were weeping, and women were hugging us. They had lost their children. And it was only about 25 minutes then. We did the H&I convention the next day, and the reaction was the same. Since that time, I decided that since it was a gift, we would remain anonymous. We would not use last names. And over a period of 32 years, I guess, we reached about, I don't know, I'm estimating 40,000 people.
Wow.
And hundreds have joined us. And I've had the opportunity, and mostly in the treatment centers, shelters, and prisons, and into those communities that needed it. Although we did some bigger shows and things like that. And along the way, I would actually have the opportunity to go in treatment centers of people in early recovery and train them to do their show for their peers. Even in prisons, too. And I wish I could have took them out. My idea was to try to get them out and go to schools, but they didn't want to do that. Along the way, visions began to evolve, and now it's about an hour in length. And it just seems right. It just seems enough for the people that are struggling in early addiction to focus and so forth. And we've opened it up to anyone now who wants to be in the show. If you're handicapped, we love it. If you're blind, we have people who are blind, amputees, mentally challenged, fine. It is a cast of about 20 characters, and there's a whole crew. We've accumulated a lot of lighting and audio now, even staging, and we're turning these treatment centers into theatrical arenas. Whatever the space we have, we perform. And when it's over, we go into the audience and say, "Join us," and some do, and that's the history of Visions. And we've done this with no funding. I We did have some press, but most of the press seemed intent on seeing who we killed or something. I mean, what do we do? I mean, they were more intent on our lives prior, but we were more interested in bringing the message of hope and recovery, as you know. Visions is a spiritual journey. It depicts the bottoms, the spiritual awakening, which is done with music and a tremendous amount of lighting as people stare into this wonderful thing in silence. And in the silence, this thing comes to them. And it ends in a fellowship meeting. We don't mention any fellowship, sharing about being human and hugging our children and greeting our neighbors. And you know all the good things that come from you. You know, you know, you know. I know you. And along the way, we've had the opportunity to present it in the House of Representatives for National Recovery Month. Congressman Jim Ramstad, who was a big recovering advocate pioneer that we passed on, got us the opportunity. And I remember Faces and Voices of Recovery were there in their early infancy. Pat Taylor was there, wrote a wonderful review. We were we went off Broadway 3 times for a week or so, and invited treatment centers and women in need, HIV groups in, and 2/3 of all tickets were given out free. And we did the Addiction Treatment Providers Convention in New Jersey and on the Troupe Marina stage. Nora Jones was on the stage the day before. And I walked into the stage. It was so huge. I said, "We don't even have props. We don't even have furniture." And all the treatment centers were represented there. And it was probably the best show we ever did. My guys were way up in the balcony telling the union techs when to hit the cues. And Jim O, who was running that, came up to me and he was weeping. I had no idea. He said, "It's okay, Jim. It's all right." And we've had some wonderful experiences. We did the World Convention for NA in Philadelphia, and half of the cast, I took them out of the shelter at Eva's kitchen and put them in the Marriott. And that was wonderful. And I don't know, there's 32 years, but mostly it's been in the treatment centers and shelters, and it is expanded and so forth.
Yeah.
So, Bob, I want to ask you, as this has evolved over 32 years, how has your recovery and your life evolved with it?
Well, I still still understand that I need to be. I'm still teachable. Number one, I don't even say I'm in long-term recovery. I'm recovered today, but I still attend meetings. Plays. How could I? I always say to them, how could you pick up and be the biggest lie that ever was out there? And you've been talking about recovery for so long, and then I can't. I just unfathomable. I don't say it's not possible. I just can't do that. I believe it was a gift. And that I didn't think it wasn't me that got this thing. That's number one. And you understand that. And the great gift. And I just can't throw it away. And so, oh yeah, I probably need more recovery. That's for sure. I'm sure.
No, I like to hear that you still go into your meetings and taking care of your recovery. Tell us about what an average day looks like for you.
It's always life is busy. I'm married, I spend time with my wife too. I have a
Mm-hmm.
nice garden that I spend time with. I feed the birds there, and so life is. Sometimes it just seems like things come all the time. Rather, like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I initiate, but a lot of times things come to me now, especially in the business. The play I push a bit, and some people want it, and I guess because I've been sort of underground, well, I've not been underground. I didn't know the recovery movement got so big.
Yes.
So in the last couple of months, I stuck my head out, and I'm in shock how big it is. And congratulations, what you do and
Yes.
what you have done, both of you, is wonderful. And I say to myself, maybe I should have stuck my head out more. Maybe I should have did more stuff in recovery. But I was more focused in my family, my business, and the play.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's seasons for everything, so I don't judge yourself too
and
harshly for that. If somebody wanted to see the play, how would they find out where it's next going to be showing?
we have a website that's been donated. Thanks to the volunteer warriors for the arts in New York City. We're not for profit now. I didn't really have any money yet back then. And on the website is my phone number, information, and they could call us. We're always looking for people. Always, always. I mean, you got to show with 20 people, something, 25. There's always people that can do something. Uh, you know, so you're always welcome.
Mm-hmm. So when somebody sees visions, what is the most positive outcome you hope people take away from visions?
Now, what happens during the shows in in the treatment centers now is that people my cast will go to the audience, and the people will gravitate toward the wife that's been abused, okay, been beat up, to the woman whose husband is stealing the money for the rent, or the salesman that gets fired on the job, or people who've been in prison, or people who thought they were drug dealers or are drug dealers. They gravitate toward them and say, that was me. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not any talking. It's like opening up a blind and looking in and maybe seeing a part of them. And I understand that everyone has their own story. Millions of recovering people have million stories. But what we identify with is the denial, the anger, the isolation, feeling less than. Those things are connection. And more importantly, recovery. They
Mm-hmm.
understand that, and that's the bond. So it ends in hope, because I just didn't want to show misery. My God, who wants to do that? Right?
Right.
You understand? It's all about being human, and being holding your head up and feeling good, and being what you are, what you're supposed to be.
Why the title Visions?
Well, I when I was inspired putting that day in the cage in the auto plant, it was like I see so much more. It opened me up to this new vision of the play. I had about maybe one scene or two,
Mm-hmm.
and now we got about 15 scenes or maybe 20. So it like just opened me up to all these possibilities, and I called it visions. I mean, it's appropriate.
No, I just curious
And
about that.
and I will show you the logo. I have
Yeah.
it's an original poster done. I only have like 2 or 3 of these left. I met a college kid. I don't know. Can you see that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anonymous, right? It's anonymous, and it reflects the healing powers of grace that come with the awakening.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it's our trademark.
One of the things that you said while we've been talking really struck me, as we think about multiple pathways of recovery. And there are a few that I heard through putting on this play. So one is service as a pathway of recovery, to talk about. Storytelling as a pathway of recovery. And then the whole process of acting as a pathway of recovery and connecting with others. So I think, trying to meet people where they're at and where their passions are, it's really powerful that there are more and more ways for folks to explore their recovery.
I
It-
agree.
So, Bob, what does the future hold for Visions and for you?
Well, I have a whim again, and that's always, always a.
Is this
I
where your
wanna
wife says, uh-oh?
Oh, she's happy if I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I want to bring it back to Washington, D.C.
Ah,
I want to bring it into the Congressional Addiction Caucus there. And I want to shake them up. I
mhm.
want to take out their wallets and leave them on the ground. That's what I want. That's my aim. I've been really pushing to take it back. Way back, it was much easier than it is today to do that. But anyway, I'm pushing. I'm pushing for that. I will do that. I don't want to die. I will raise the money up for that to bring them in to perform.
Mhm.
So that's one of my goals.
Cool. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think you've been very gracious. You made me feel very comfortable. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you.
Well, you're an
For being with
extraordinary,
us.
extraordinary human being. So, we'll be back in touch and let you know how we can support Visions in the future. I love what you're doing, carrying the message. That's what it's all about.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Sandy. Bill, thank you.
Bye.